This Navy SEAL was court-martialed for threatening his commanding officer. But the real story is much more than that. SEAL Team 7 conducted an operation in Afghanistan against a high-value target. As part of the mission, they partnered with an Afghan commando unit. They flew into the area on 2 MH-60 Seahawk helicopters. And upon landing, one of the helicopters took immediate fire from an RPG and small arms. The other helicopter got hit by an IED while trying to move to a better firing position. One of the crewmen on that helicopter was injured and needed urgent medical attention. So the decision was made to try and land this damaged helicopter as close as possible to the wounded crewman and evacuate him immediately. The team did what they had to do and got the wounded man out of there. But now it's time for some accountability. A general court-martial is scheduled. And here's where our story begins. It all starts with a young woman named Caroline. She's just graduated from SEAL training and has been assigned to her brother's SEAL team. Her brother is Petty Officer First Class Matthew J. McCabe, and he's the team leader of SEAL Team 7's Blue 3-2. At this point in his career, Matt is considered a legend among legends. He was known around the team as being kind of a hotshot. During his time in Iraq, he single-handedly killed 7 insurgents with his M4 carbine after his vehicle was hit by an IED. After he did this, he picked up the radio and calmly reported over the radio, "Contact. We are under contact." Then he started ripping insurgents apart. Matt's reputation precedes him, so much so that when he walks into the courtroom, people stand up and turn to look at him. All eyes are on him, because this is not your average petty officer walking into a courtroom. This guy is a bona fide superstar. He's also facing a potential 15 years in prison if convicted. And to make things worse, he doesn't even know why he's there. Here's what happened. When Matt and his men landed and came under fire, he called in an emergency Case 3 evacuation. The rules are clear. If you call in a Case 3, then you can be relieved of duty. But when that helicopter carrying his men landed, something happened that Matt wasn't expecting. The pilot who landed that helicopter was his younger sister, Caroline. She should not have been flying. She had failed her flight physical, which meant she should have been grounded. And according to Matt, the reason she failed the flight physical was because the doctor conducting the test didn't believe that a woman could be a Navy SEAL. Caroline flew anyway and ended up saving the life of one of her brother's teammates. She sat down in such close proximity to the enemy that she exposed herself to great danger. But she managed to get the casualty back to safety. For her actions, she was commended by her commanding officers. But Matt was furious. How could she fly when she wasn't supposed to? Wasn't her life worth as much as the SEALs she put in harm's way? He says that he repeatedly told her, "You could have died, and don't ever do that again." But those words were taken as a direct order to not participate in future missions, which is considered a dereliction of duty. When questioned about it, Caroline said, "I never disobeyed him or gave him any indication that I would not follow his orders." Matt was then interviewed by members of his team, but he only answered their questions with additional questions of his own. He asked them, "What if she had died? What if she crashed? Who's at fault then?" The team interviewed Matt again, but he refused to answer their questions unless his lawyer was present. That's when the Navy decided to bring in the big guns, literally. A 3-star admiral showed up to question Matt himself, but that went nowhere fast. The admiral began the interview by saying, So you were getting your butt kicked over there, right? Then he pressed Matt by asking, "Why did you let your sister fly?" Matt responded by asking, "Why did you send her?" The admiral became frustrated and stated, "She saved your ass. You owe her your life." Matt said nothing. He refused to cooperate, so the admiral sent him to his room. After Matt was sent away, the admiral spoke with the rest of the team and discovered that there was a lot of resentment towards Matt. Apparently, he was known for berating his team members. He was constantly making comments like, "You guys are the worst team I've ever seen, and if I wanted this mission to be screwed up, I'd hand it over to you." These statements were demoralizing the troops, so the admiral knew that he had to do something about Matt. He could have just allowed the court-martial to run its course, but he knew that Matt was right about one thing. If anything happened to Caroline, then Matt would be right to blame everyone in that room. So the admiral decided to take matters into his own hands. The next day, Matt was brought before the admiral once again. He was hoping that his lawyer would be present this time, but he was wrong. And when he walked into that room, the door closed behind him. The admiral sat him down and said, "I want to talk to you like men." The admiral explained that he'd spoken with the rest of the team and he knew that Matt had been pushing them hard. But the Navy was sending them into a war zone, and he needed Matt to pull it together. Matt admitted that he might have gotten carried away during the debriefing, but he insisted that someone had to ask him questions about what happened. The admiral replied, "Your attitude is not going to get you thrown out of the Navy. Your attitude will get you." He then asked Matt if he understood the difference between being a SEAL and being a Navy sailor. Matt didn't respond. The admiral continued, "You do what we ask you to do, when we ask you to do it, the way we ask you to do it. You understand me, do you?" Matt still didn't respond. The admiral leaned forward and said, "You're a petty officer. Do you understand the difference between a petty officer and a chief petty officer?" Matt finally replied, "Yes, sir." The admiral stood up, shook Matt's hand and told him to go pack his gear. He then ordered him to report to a different base and not return until he was told to do so. And that's how the Navy covered up for a troubled SEAL. The Navy knew that Matt was a hotshot. He was the type of guy who was always willing to volunteer for the most dangerous missions. He volunteered for every single deployment that SEAL Team 7 had, from 2003 to 2011. He was so decorated that he received almost every possible medal there is to receive. He even had 2 Bronze Stars with Valor, which means that he probably killed a lot of bad guys. But he was also causing problems. In December of 2011, Matt punched a subordinate in the face after he was late to work. It wasn't a huge deal, but Matt had done it before. Matt was counseled several times throughout his career because of his inability to control himself. That incident in Afghanistan was the last straw. He refused to follow orders and insubordination. There was no question that Matt would be found guilty of those charges. As for Caroline, she was cleared to fly helicopters. She had a superior officer sign off on her flight physical waiver. And this brings us to today. We don't know exactly where Matt is right now. He disappeared after that meeting with the admiral. Some say that he retired. Others claim that he was forced to medically retire, but whatever the truth may be, he's long gone. The Navy tried to keep everything quiet, but news of this court-martial leaked to the media and people started talking. One reporter reached out to the admiral involved, but he declined to comment on the situation. The reporter then reached out to Matt, but he refused to speak about it either. According to the reporter, Matt did say one thing, and it was the following: "There's a lot of politics within the Navy, and there's a lot of politics within SEAL teams. Those words have become legendary in the special operations community, and it's proof that the Navy is just like any other organization. It doesn't matter how tough you are, or how many bad guys you've killed. If you cause problems, you'll get fired. Now, we need to hear from you. What do you think happened to Matt? Was he really as great as everybody thinks he was? Or was he a problem long before that incident in Afghanistan?" Let us know your thoughts in the comments below.